welcome to worship at First Unitarian Church. I invite you now to join me in singing our opening hymn, We Would Be One.
Welcome to online worship at First Unitarian Church of Rochester. I'm the Reverend Sherry Halliday-Kwan, and it is a joy to be with you this Sunday. Today is a special day, a day of transition. We say goodbye to our interim associate minister, the Reverend Bob Rangillian. He'll preach his final sermon with us. Not his final sermon period, but his final sermon with us as we bid him farewell and he too says goodbye to us. We celebrate today also our graduating high school seniors in our bridging ceremony. We're not saying goodbye to them, but they close one chapter of their life with us and lean into this new adulthood. It is so good to be with all of you. Leading worship with me today, we have Arson playing piano, Tom Snell, our music directors, leading the ministry of music. Of course, Reverend Bob is preaching, Tim Farnham and Sheila Shue, and our high school seniors, as well as their parents and friends. We're all coming together to lead worship. Those of you who are joining us, whether you've got your video on or you're calling in, you too are a part of what makes Sunday morning possible and beautiful. Thank you for being here. After our service today, instead of our normal coffee hour breakouts, we'll close our worship service and then transition into a goodbye party for Reverend Bob. We've never done this online, so it's an exciting time to join together and wish him well. Let's settle into our service now. Take a breath with me. And join me in saying our unison words for our chalice lighting. May the flame we now kindle inspire us to use our power to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, and to seek liberation in the fullness of community. And now for bridging. This is the last of our rites of passage that we celebrate here at First Unitarian. In the rhythm of the church year, we lift up the human transitions, the changes in life that happen outside of our community. So in this case, these high school seniors are completing what it means to be a child and move into the world of adulthood. But here at First Unitarian, bridging also honors and acknowledges that as participants in our religious education program, as children in our community, as people who have already helped to shape who we are, we've invested in you also. You move from children and youth religious education into the wider world of Unitarian Universalism. There are young adults to greet you, older adults to help continue to guide you, and know that the ways in which you have been raised and shaped by Unitarian Universalism will, through you, shape us, change us. We expect that in this bridging, we lift up the accomplishments and the achievements and the honor of getting to know you as a young person. But we expect also that we take up the mantle of what it means to move forward. This is not a graduation ceremony in which you say goodbye to the past, but instead the mark of a transition moment where your relationship with this community changes. Bridging invites you, Sarah and Ella, Nadia and Eris, into this transition, asking you to join us as an adult. And it reminds us too, as a community, that this transition moment for the four of you is indeed a transition moment for all of us. It's particularly true right in this moment. And I know that all of you are wrestling with this idea of finishing high school when you can't go through the commencement ceremonies that many of the rest of us have. Or your schools are figuring out how to handle giving you and your peers, your friends, a chance to be together again. How to wrestle with your great accomplishment and your just in the nick of time by the skin of your teeth fulfillment of responsibilities. It's a transition moment where we're all invited to reflect back on how things used to be and lean forward into an unknown that we haven't yet experienced. As you all gather for your future journeys, we as a community gather with you also, learning from this moment of bridging.
It seems such a rare gift to be able to witness someone's spiritual development over time and to play that role in a child's life as I have been able to with these four youth for the last 11 years that I've been working at the church. This is the image of the bridge that I have for their bridging today. To me, it's a metaphor of all the stones that all of us have been placing in order to have this pathway for you to go out into the world on. The hours and hours of RE and being at Unirondac and engaging in social justice and in service to our other youth community. I feel like all of these are one part of this labor of love in which we have built with you, our bridgers, this Unitarian Universalist faith. And it is an ancient hope that I feel is realized within you. Pam and Carol Ann and Marion Scott and Thomas and Lynn, all of you have really entrusted us with this love and with this tending and with this kind of joint task and investment, which I'm so grateful for, especially since my son has been this age with your children over time and through it all, thick and thin. So I honor you, youth. I honor the ways in which our faith is realized within you and the hopes you carry because of that.
We begin this ritual with a time of witness, for we know the true power of a person lies in the connections and impact they have made. The first will be by a younger youth who will speak to how the Bridging Senior has impacted their community. The second witness by the parents who will name how their teen most embodies our UU faith. And third, our bridgers themselves. They will share one life-changing lesson learned in their growing up here at First Unitarian. Let us open our minds and hearts in grateful presence for Eris, Nadia, Ella, and Sarah.
Eris has contributed a lot to our church community. In youth group, she isn't afraid to speak up and voice opinions, even if they aren't the norm. This makes everyone feel like they can do the same and causes a lot of unique and engaging conversations. She's a very interesting person to talk to and has some pretty cool hobbies. She makes you want to get to know her better, even with just a little interaction. Eris, I'm happy I was a part of youth group with you this year. On behalf of everyone, thank you for being an important voice in our church and for making it a more open place. We'll miss you.
Hello, Eris. You were raised in this church's RE's program from nursery school all the way through youth group, and we are so proud of how you've embraced the UU principles. Especially that fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
You've always been one to follow your own path. I'll never forget when you were 3 years old and I started to read you a story at goodnight and you said, "No, I do." And then you pretty much taught yourself how to read from then on and anything else you wanted to know. You've never let your schooling get in the way of your education.
So you're creating your own person that is unique and wonderful, and you value that trait in the friends that you choose too. Congratulations on your bridging, Eris. We love you.
I've only recently had a serious, meaningful relationship, and it just amazes me how useful and incredible all the things I've learned from church are, like the OWL program, and just being able to communicate with somebody on a serious and genuine level it's amazing that I'm able to do that. And I mean, from a young age, I've been able to learn this stuff through church, and that's just fantastic.
Nadia is not afraid to call people out when they're wrong or say exactly what's on her mind when it's on her mind. She is a great listener as a friend. She gives great advice and just listens when you need an ear. And she's someone I look up to because she's strong, passionate, and caring.
Nadia, I'm so proud of the person that you have become over these last 18 years, and being at UU is a huge part of that. I'm proud of how kind you are and that you'd never purposely hurt anybody, even if they disagreed with you. I'm proud of how you seek out your own truths with input from others, but always trusting your own voice. I'm proud of how you cultivate community and take care of yourself and others. And I'm proud of how you live out the 8th principle, which the youth at our congregation have chosen to adopt. Whether it's helping Sheila with NVC workshops, creating materials that support anti-racism, or taking photos at a Black Lives Matter rally, I'm proud that you value equity, inclusion, and are willing to challenge the status quo. These are just a few of the ways in which you embody the UU faith, and I'm so excited to see how you continue to carry your faith out into the world. I love you.
The Unitarian world has taught me to speak your mind even if you're not 100% confident in it, because either way, in the end, someone will learn something new, whether it's yourself or the people around you.
Ella embodies the UU faith in the sense that she does not treat others as lesser beings than the next. She's non-judgmental and kind to the highest extent. Ella is there for anyone who needs someone bright in their life.
Ella's UU faith is evident in her kindness and compassion towards all beings, but she will also speak out fiercely when needed for what's right and good. Ella grew into 2 leadership roles at school this year, mentoring a girls group and directing an a cappella group. And she always led with equity and care in all her decision making. I'm very proud of her.
I think her time at Unirondeck really typifies her relationship with the church, because in a lot of ways it brings her to a place where she can express joy in nature, she can embrace all the people that go with us, and it's a chance for her to be a part of the community. And I think it's something that she'll look forward to in the future.
First Unitarian Church has given me so much. It taught me my love of music, social justice, and even inspired my career as a teacher. The lessons that I learned here about compassion and empathy will follow me through the rest of my life.
What I admire so much about Sarah is she's a very active listener. I feel like I can tell her anything, and I know everybody else feels the same way. For me, youth group has always been a place that is open and free for anyone to speak their mind and find acceptance, and her presence in youth group really helps foster that kind of environment. Her kindness and consideration are things we can all learn from, and she has taught me and so many others about what it means to listen attentively and create an environment that makes everyone feel at home. Sarah, we will all miss you a lot. Thank you so much for all the ways you have helped the church feel like a safe and open place.
Sarah, you're so awesome. You're loving and caring. One of the things that impresses me most is your awareness of current events and your passion around the inequities of human experience. You're always seeking fairness and compassion for everybody. And I love that about you, and it inspires me. You give me hope. You're my kind of you, and I love you.
Growing up at First Unitarian taught me that in order to figure out who I am as a person, I need to step out of my comfort zone and embrace the unknown rather than dread it. The older I get, the more I find myself seeking out new knowledge and adventure, and being surrounded with love and acceptance from the people I've met in RE has instilled open-mindedness in me and helped me find my passions.
I am so honored and proud to serve this congregation, to serve a faith and a community that crafts values and commitments, and humans like you. Eris and Nadia and Sarah and Ella, Unitarian Universalism is yours. Not yours alone. It belongs to a broad span of human community, but it is yours and no one can take that from you. This faith has staked a claim upon you, been a part of your upbringing, and this community has poured love and lessons into you. We hope that you will continue to shape us. We hope that you will claim Unitarian Universalism. If you leave Rochester, we hope that you will let us introduce you to the Unitarian Universalists there. Hope that you will allow us to continue to be your companions as your spiritual journey unfolds. I ask that the rest of us, as we reflect on what it means to bridge, to take lessons and love and bring them into the wider world, know that this bridging is ours too. Know that the ways in which you move out from religious education are also the ways that we're invited each and every week, each and every day, to take our hopes and our values and our commitments and make them real in our personal lives and in the wider world. So, children and adults, all who are gathered, I invite you to create a bridge with your hands, and if that tires your arms, you could use your hands in a smaller way. Find some way to connect two parts of your body and form a bridge, knowing that the promises and commitments we make are not only in word, but also in our actions, in our bodies, in the ways that we show up. Do we as a community promise to accompany these young people, not only in the tender years ahead, but as they grow old as we are, wherever we happen to be on that journey, knowing that spiritual companions are needed along with the tools and lessons of our youth? Do we promise to support them, to help journey with them through mistakes, to help journey with them when they achieve and accomplish and celebrate? Do we hold with them their joys and their sorrows? And do we as a community commit to continuing to be a place where not only children and youth, but also young adults can find their home here, can continue to grow and learn? Do we commit to being a place that values these elements of human development, knowing that together our spiritual journey would be incomplete without them, without you? May it be so. To our youngest young adults, welcome.
Hi everybody, my name is Jenna Cohen, and I'm the facilitator for the Rochester Unitarian Universalist Young Adult Group. I just wanted to say congratulations to everyone. I'm so happy to be part of welcoming you to this new stage in your life. There's a lot that's going on in our country and our world that feels daunting, and it's tempting to look toward the future with fear. But I feel no fear for our future because it is your generation and those that come after you that fill me with hope. Go into the world with compassion and kindness. Go into the world with patience for yourself. Go into the world with conviction and carry the flame forward, knowing that your community will always be here for you to come home to. Congratulations. I look forward to meeting you.
Find among us friendship and a space to continue to grow into the life you want to live. We're here and we'd love to have you whenever you're in town or from afar.
I'm excited to meet each of you and learn more about what you will bring to our group. We're very excited to have you.
Our next hymn was chosen by Reverend Bob because it reflects his love of metaphorical theology. In fact, it was even sung at his ordination many years ago. Please join me now in singing Bring Many Names.
Bring many names, beautiful and good, celebrate in parable and story, holiness in glory, living, loving God. Hail and hosanna, bring many names, strong Mother God, working night and day, planning all the wonders of creation, setting each equation, genius at play. Hail and hosanna, strong Mother God, warm Father God, hugging every child, feeling all the strains of human living, caring and forgiving, till we're reconciled. Hail and hosanna, warm Father God, old aching God, pray with endless care, calmly piercing evil's new disguises, glad of new surprises, wiser than despair. Hail and hosanna, old aching God, young growing God, eager still to know, willing to be changed by what you've started, quick to be delighted, singing as you go. Hail and hosanna, young growing God, great living God, never fully known, joyful darkness far beyond our seeing, closer yet than breathing, everlasting home. Hail and hosanna, great living God.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you all who sang along. I invite you to think back to August 2018. Those of you who heard me as I introduced myself to everyone here, the kind of reading that I did, I have it down that I used it with the Soul Matters group. I used it with other groups as well. The reading today from the Reverend Jack Mendelson, who is a Unitarian Universalist minister. A Unitarian Universalist minister is a person never completely satisfied or satisfiable, never completely adjusted or adjustable. A person who talks in two worlds, one of things as they are, and the other as things as they ought to be, and loves them both. Ministers are persons with pin-cushion souls and elastic hearts who sit with the happy and the sad in a chaotic pattern of laugh, cry, and know deep down that the first time that their laughter is false or their tears are make-believe, their days as real ministers are over. Ministers are people with dreams they can never wholly share, partly because they have some doubts about them, and partly because they are unable to explain adequately what it is they think they see and understand. A minister is a person who continually runs out of time, out of wisdom, out of courage, and out of money. A person whose tasks involve great responsibility and little power, who must learn to accept people where they are and go from there. A person who must never try to exercise influence that has not been earned. The minister who is worthy knows all this and is still thankful every day for the privilege of being a minister. The future of the liberal church is almost always dependent on these two factors: great congregations, whether large or small, and effective, dedicated ministers. The strangest feature of their relationship is they create one another. I invite you to settle in your chairs, take a deep breath, come into this time of prayer, to deepen yourselves into a moment of meditation. The prayer I offer starts with some words from the Religious Institute. It's called a prayer for prophetic resistors. Spirit of life that connects us all, we are struggling. We are tired. We are afraid. We are anxious, and we feel threatened. We recognize ever more clearly that oppression is the mark of a broken world and the failure to honor the dignity of worth of all people. Those in power ignore the common good, and we are complicit in ways large and small. And yet, we choose faith. We choose resistance. We choose to believe that the world can be better than it is. We commit to continuing our prophetic resistance in all the ways that we can. We commit to caring for ourselves and one another in all the ways that are necessary. Spirit of life, sustain us. Help us to sustain each other. And to this I add the prayers that we have each week. The prayers for the essential workers and those going back to work. The prayers for those who are suffering from anxiety about their jobs, food anxiety, worries about their relatives, friends, and neighbors who are ill, or their own illnesses. Our prayers go out to all who know those of the 250 plus who have died in Monroe County since the count was started in COVID-19. Our prayers go out to those who are feeling disconnected still. Our prayers go out to all who are celebrating a birthday without the big party, an anniversary without the big vacation trip, who are celebrating graduations and bridging without knowing full information about whether they are able to enter into the work world, the campus, or wherever they may be going. Our prayers go out to those who are saddened by losses, the griefs, and the leavings. May we remember that the pain in our hearts reflects the depth in which love has formed a canyon in our hearts. These, and the prayers of those things not yet spoken, we hold now. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here with me on this final day. I note that I had to come in here. I had to light this chalice. You don't know it, but I polished my shoes this morning, ironed my shirt, trimmed my sideburns, clipped my nails so that as I shake your hands, it will not feel like claws. I did everything today that I did that first morning I walked in, except that there's no Shannon in the front hall to give out hugs. No one at the welcome table to give out new name tags and help people learn their way in. Nobody at the door handing out a piece of paper for those who would come in. This goodbye is in a very unusual space and time. I hope unique to our generation to have to face this kind of distancing. But I also know that you all are here. You're on the screen, check now, 186 connections, multiple people I can see along the rows. You are here. We are here together. What does it mean to open doors? In the time of COVID-19, we learned very quickly it means signing up over 60 volunteers as caring stewards who will reach out to over 925 congregants. To open the door, to remind us of our connectedness. To open the door to channels of ministry. Yeah. It means opening doors to someone who just 2 years ago really did not know your names, barely had figured out where things were in Rochester. Where are the museums? Where's the doctor's office that I have a chance to get into? What's the way to each of the hospitals? And when somebody calls and says that their friend in this congregation is in the hospital, which one was that? Opening doors to somebody completely new who does not know you. When it's time for the family to have a memorial service, I'm honored and feel the great privilege it was to serve in those moments of great meaning in recalling the lives of people who you had known, sometimes for decades, in your midst. And if I was lucky, had known for weeks, months, or maybe a year. To be invited into the homes of people took opening doors. To be invited into the children's worship, or to help substitute in one of the children's classes, to sit in on your discussion groups, to walk with you, to be with you, to side with you in love in the protests, downtown Martin Luther King Park, or just in front of the First Universalist Church for the causes of the day, or to be at City Hall as public discussion of police accountability was taking place. I saw so many of us showing up. I sat in on things that most of us don't get to see. The representatives from the school partnership coming to our building and getting to see them here, knowing they were supported. To have shown up when rain was being hosted here. To thank the volunteers who would serve the meal and to interact with the children who were wanting a moment to play. To thank people who spent the night and did all the other chores to make it possible for us to open doors together. This is the place in which we had, for the very first time that the leaders could remember it, a Jubilee weekend filled with over 50 people from just one congregation to walk together, to learn together, to open our eyes together to the anti-racism work. An entire weekend immersion. This is the place that opened doors to those in the community who might be interested in the work that we were doing as a part of our end statement to overcome racism in our R3 race, relationship, and racism workshops. To all the people who opened the doors of their experience, this is incredible, people. I have never seen so many turn out for anti-racism work. I have never seen the concerted, sustained effort that has been done in the name of our values to support Omar as he was in court. I am leaving a chair open during the next hearing in Buffalo, coming up this summer. I know that there will be people who go instead and show up because that's what this place is. When I first got here, I had Christy take a picture of me on each side of your sign along Whitton Avenue. Next to the side that said First Unitarian Church and a banner saying welcoming congregation with the rainbow flag. Next to the other side, First Unitarian Church, Black Lives Matter banner. Both of those bold statements out there for either the north or the southbound traffic being able to read it, see it, and know that your doors and your hearts are open. Did we know, as that picture was taken, just how much some of that welcome and that bold statement would be so much needed? I suspect the social justice exec did know. I suspect the board did know. I know that the staff team did know. And little by little, as we open our eyes to the news, we realize that those statements go just so far, and probably not far enough for 2021 and the future. I won't be walking that path with you, but I'll give you a hint right now. The generation that's coming up, having peaceful demonstrations along Black Lives Matter, has come up with something that caught fire on social media. It started down in South Carolina, 2 rival football teams coming up with a sign that was express shipped to each other so that it could be held in both marches, with the football players at the campuses in South Carolina and at Clemson holding up a sign that said, "Black lives but also matters," in quotes, is the minimum. Black lives are worthy. Black lives are beloved. Black lives are needed. And then the other side of that sign with the welcoming congregation. Walking in the Pride Parade with you, knowing that this congregation, by its survey a year ago, had found out that almost a quarter of the congregation does not check the box heterosexual on surveys. To walk in pride with this progress flag flying from the First Unitarian Church trailer, with our marching units combined with other Unitarian Universalists of the region, knowing the importance that we are not only welcoming congregations, we are fully integrating and celebrating congregations. I wish you well as you move forward, that you might have as many people show up for an educational event, perhaps on how trans lives are as well, or the use of pronouns. As you see on my name on this screen, I have added the he, him pronouns, as we are only just finding welcome table stickers for name tags, he or she or they, or fill in your own, to open doors together to those who came in, who are already here, who might want to be here. Know that we are up to date. More of you show up to the educational processes that may be offered to renew your welcoming congregation status. I sit here and I think back to all the things, the R3, as I said, the Jubilee weekend, police accountability, the things that people did on their own. I went off to an offering by 540 West Main on unpacking white fragility. I went off to the musical opportunities that are there from the Eastman School and surrounding areas. I joined in to be a speaker on 2 panels for educators learning how to be better at being opening doors to the students in the school systems who needed to know they would be accepted for their LGBTQIA identities and orientations. I couldn't make it to be with you for Image Out. I had just gone through surgery. But it is a wonder to me, not only that such a film series exists, but that it was shepherded through the decades by First Unitarian Church members. To let me know that gives me inspiration for wherever I go. I was here as you started for the first time your reapplication of your social justice applications, the various ministries that had been with you or were trying to be with you under your umbrella, to learn deeply what each ministry was up to and why they were here. Why is this a First Unitarian Church ministry? That was an amazing way to help me as a new minister learn core, deep values being laid out. You may not have heard me say this, but when we did the Greater Good service and announced the over $30,000 that was being distributed between the 2 organizations voted on by the children of this congregation to receive it, but your generosity through Greater Good over the years became something that I have decided I am going to steal and share with my next congregation. You got it right. To ask each other to open your hearts throughout the holiday season. To think of the ways in which you might give some of the money away, that instead of gifts for yourself or your family, you are giving that gift to something worthy, recognized, and voted on by our children as a gift to our community. You have made a footprint through that and your other engagement of yourself and your funds through the years. And yes, definitely, I'm taking that idea. We were cruising right along with working on our road ahead. We were cruising right along to reorienting ourselves from a painful past and multiple transitions of ministers to a newness, a future. I loved what you did. I have hopes for where you're going. And I'm grateful for the here and now that I got to experience with you. You do some pretty amazing stuff as a congregation. You guys all memorize my sermons and my quotes? If so, you remember my sermon on abundance from fall of 2018, where I quoted Meg Wheatley, the author, who said, "There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about." You did that through your various small group discussions, through your work to put together an entire new vision of where you were going, through the tweaking of the listen, open, serve, through that little bit in which you put in humility in the wording. A word, as I told you back then in 2018, that does not appear in the index of our Unitarian Universalist hymn book, and therefore you are on the forward wave of what's needed for Unitarian Universalist spirituality and social justice action. Wow, folks. There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about. We were cruising right along, and I had the absolute wonderful privilege of working with a staff who is top-notch in working on what they do, who is committed immensely at making sure that this congregation and the message Unitarian Universalists served. I have watched, just for example, this plan puts out an annual report that looks like something that we want to read. In fact, I read every page of it. And a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes things to make sure that what we say about ourselves is easy to see and know. To all the staff who are out there working on the communications. Shannon, who announced again that yes, UU 101 is occurring. How many congregations have shut down their new member process? Not this staff.
Well, the staff doesn't shut down, but perhaps Bob's internet connection here at the church did. I came from home to join Bob in his final service here, and I'm hoping he's trying to reconnect. Because I don't come to the church every Sunday now, I come to the church online, but not the church building. I forgot my keys, so I'm hoping Bob will extend this June theme and open the doors literally here to me. But as he's working on reconnecting, we'll say really nice things about him. I'll use this as an opportunity while he's gone to ask one of the other staff members to drop the link into the kudos board, into the chat, There's a board that we've got going where people are sharing photos and memories and oh. All right. Well, hopefully Bob's internet connections are also not mine. Who knows? Who knows how Bob was planning to end his sermon? The truth of the matter is his ministry here doesn't end with his departure. There are things that he's taught us, things that we've learned, things that we'll continue to chew on and wrestle with long after he's gone. I know I personally have been shaped by him. My ministry has been shaped by his gentle questions, which, as the Reverend Joel Miller, a fellow interim, warned me, if he is doing his job, it will needle and annoy you at times. I've not been annoyed, but I certainly have been challenged. I will continue to wrestle. And now that Reverend Bob is back, I'll let him finish his sermon, and I'll make sure that I come back to what I hope we will give to him when he leaves us.
Well, folks, what did I just say? Humility? Bested by technology here. Oh, well. Excuse me, I'm going to shut off the backup system that I had in place. Thank you, Sherry, for stepping in. As I said, and throughout what I was doing, that I am very glad to be here. As I step away, to have been with this staff, to have worked with Sherry, to have worked with Tommy, to have worked with everyone, to have worked with the Soul Matters facilitators. Now I understand from what Sherry was saying, it's time for us to get to the end part here. Sherry, go ahead and take over Spotlight, or whatever way we're going to do this.
Oh, Bob, I don't want to finish your, if your sermon is done, we've got time for you.
So I will say in closing,
yeah,
that COVID-19 has made it hard, but I will pretend to shake your hand. Can you turn off the speaker, please? I will pretend to hug. I will say goodbye, farewell, and I will watch in the newsletter into the future the wondrous ways you're going. And I am so glad that you have Reverend Margalie coming in to be part of this wondrous team in this wondrous congregation. Now, am I supposed to be going to a door? I saw a note about going to a door.
I mean, usually, but while we're doing that, we'll add that to the 2 spiritual practices that have been our new tradition here at First Unitarian. So we'll have a 3rd spiritual practice. Bob, if you could open the door back through the kitchen, I'd love to come join you in the building. I've got a mask, I'll keep my distance. But
that's interesting. Okay, Christy's going that way.
Splendid. The other 2 practices are for everyone else. The first one is I invite you into the spiritual practice of collective generosity. I invite you to give to our plate today, which we split with our school partnerships. And it's a pleasure for me today with Reverend Bob, are bidding you goodbye, to know that your foundation as an educator and the ways in which you've been a witness to our social justice ministries allows us to split our plate today with a ministry that partners with local schools. So I invite you to give generously. There are multiple ways to give. You can get on our website or the app. You can give by Venmo. We receive the offering with humility. We bless these gifts, knowing that they serve our broader community and the work and witness of this congregation. The second spiritual practice that I invite you into is practice of action, something that I ask you to take up each week. And this Thursday, we will have an online phone banking training. It's part of our budding efforts to join in UU the Vote, helping reclaim our vote and protect our democracy. And we're partnering with the Jewish Federation of Greater Rochester and First Universalist. And you can see our newsletter for more information. You'll need to register online in advance. You can register up to moments before it starts. And I want to say this to you all now because we don't require registration for our worship services, though we have had Zoom bombers and folks coming in who may or may not have been wanting to participate in our worship with a full heart. Our Jewish siblings, our siblings who worship in primarily Jewish-oriented spaces, of course, there are Jewish folks among us now, but the Jewish services are requiring registration. The instance of Zoom bombing for them happens without relent. Every week, they are needing to wrestle with anti-Semitism in their chat. And I want to name that specifically for us to hold so that we know that when we join with them in partnership, if it is slightly less convenient for us, there's good reason for it. And I ask that we join in solidarity and a sense of grace extended in that fashion. So your offering of both action and financial gifts is humbly and
Reverend Bob, your ministry with us at First Unitarian Church of Rochester comes to a close. With humility for all that we have needed to learn and pride in what we have accomplished together, with release of anything that you might have intended to do but did not, and hope for forgiveness for the ways that we have fallen short. We are grateful for your ministry to and among us.
Thank you. I sat down with humility as well, with apologies to those I offended, with great sense of honor for those who have inspired me. I have removed the nameplate from my door to carry on, but you will always be in my heart.
We hope, Bob, that that will not be the only thing you carry on from us. Tommy has prepared a gift from the congregation, and I'll let Tommy speak to that.
Tommy, I can't hear you. Now I can.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Fantastic. I'm sorry about that. Lots of little tech glitches today. What a great theological learning for us in imperfection. Reverend Bob, you have reminded us of our history and of the progress we have made. You have reminded us of the progress we have yet to make. Specifically, you have encouraged us to work on renewing our welcoming congregations certification and how important that is. And in that spirit of progress, I am honored to present to you a gift from this congregation. I sewed a Progress Pride stole for you based on the Progress Pride flag by Daniel Quasar. It has the 6 colors of the traditional pride flag with a 5-stripe chevron headed into the flag, which reminds us of the progress we need to make around inclusion and justice for people of color and trans folk within our community. Soon our congregation will perform a virtual laying on of hands blessing you and the stole with our love and support as you go forth and continue your ministry in our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our hope is that when you wear this stole, you will feel the collective power of the people of First Unitarian Church of Rochester as an arm of solidarity around your shoulder, knowing that you never take a stand alone. A hug of comfort when the work of ministry leaves you weary, and a pat on the back when you need a reminder of the great work you've done at ours and so many congregations. May it be a reminder to listen deeply to others and yourself, open to wonder and transformation, and serve together with love and humility. May it be so. Blessed be.
Thank you, Tommy. I will open this now. I accept this wonderful gift. Thank you.
Bob, while you are unwrapping it, and if you would like some help placing it upon your shoulders, I'll keep my distance, but perhaps Christy might help you.
Okay.
As for the rest of us, I ask that you place your hands over your heart. And this is true for all of us. And think through a time that Reverend Bob has said a good word, offered a silence that held you, gave a smile that brightened your day. Think of a time that a minister made a difference in your life. Into that same hand, I ask you to call to mind a time when you were in need, when something in you hurt, when you didn't know where to turn. Ministry blossoms in that space in between our deep hunger and pain and the simple everyday actions that make this life together possible. I ask you to take those hands now imbued with our deep need and our great love and reach them out to the screen. Bob, if I were in person on the other side of this wall, I'd ask you if I could lay my hands on your shoulder. And with your consent, I join in a circle that surrounds you, a circle of love, of blessing, knowing that you go out into this world, taking your ministry to the good people of North Carolina, taking your ministry and the lessons learned here into the next place and the wider world. May your gifts continue to bless us here. And may our stories, our pain, and our love feel your next ministry. Feel this love. Amen. Blessed be. May it be so. Thank you, Bob. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I think it's probably time for us to sing our final hymn with you.
Please join me now in singing a very special closing hymn dedicated to our own Mr. Rogers, Reverend Bob Brangillian.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor?
Thank you. A lovely gift to carry off to rural North Carolina in the next step of my ministry, and to remember this congregation, this time, this ministry. Let us remember as we go out, though this service closes, though we are off living our lives, that we can come back together in various ways as a congregation to make a difference in this world, to be a blessing to this world, to be a caring community, a spiritual home, so much needed in this world. Though I learned the vocabulary to wish you well, to say they, the First Unitarian Church congregation, I will be behind the scenes for the next weeks wrapping up. My blessings to all of you. My honor to have been with you. My thanks to those who managed, despite me, to do great ministry. My joy when it went well in our energies together. Blessings to you all. Blessed be. Amen.